Okay. Hey, I want to welcome everybody here to our call tonight. If you were on our call last week, we worked on what we talked about was developing our story. And my goal, my plan was this week was to kind of continue with that theme and work on the next part of the story going forward and everything. But some things have happened over the last several days. I've had some conversations with a few other people, and there's been kind of a common topic that has kind of come up. And usually I will speak about these things as they come to me. Sometimes it's a spur of the moment. I've been known to kind of change things like 30 minutes before I start a program like this, just to change the whole talk, because I get a feeling, I get an emotion, I get something that is talking to me that says there's somebody and there's people that may need to hear this. But this talk here tonight that we're going to talk about, I'm going to encourage you to stay on till the end. I've got something very special that my wife and I are working on that I want to share with you here, and we'll be sharing this quite a bit in the upcoming next month or two. So hopefully it'll be something that some people will be very excited about, and hopefully we'll have a lot of people excited about it. But with that being said, our topic really, we're going to talk about grief and the feelings of guilt that surrounds our grief, and questions if we should be able to enjoy life again. This is a personal experience of mine that even to this day, 20 years later, actually 24 years later, I feel I do go out and enjoy myself, have a good time, but then there's times that I feel guilty about it because my daughter's not able to be here. It's a very common emotion. It's a very normal emotion and feeling that we go through as we're grieving. So this is something that I just kind of felt compelled to speak about because I know there's some people that are wanting to see the recording on this and some other things. So if you've ever been to a church meeting, or if you've ever been to some place, a pastor, or you've gone to a meeting, and all of a sudden somebody's speaking to you, and you feel like, wow, they're speaking like you're the only one in the crowd, and they're speaking straight to you. I believe that there is somebody here that's probably needs to hear some of these things. So again, we're living with grief. We know and we understand and we accept the fact that grief is going to be with us for the rest of our life. And so that is something that, we must get used to, that we have to, just accept that fact. I always believe that I just don't want to cope. I want to go beyond coping. I want to live my life again and live a full life. I understand that things have changed, and the situations in my life have changed me personally on the inside and outside. And so, as long as I understand that going forward, there's a future. There's some place to be going. So, with that being said, it just doesn't feel right. Okay, if you think about getting away or going on a vacation or doing anything, sometimes you just don't feel right to get away or just to enjoy yourself with family and friends because they can't be with you. At least, and the way to look at this is they're not with you physically, but sometimes that's what we really want. We want them to be with us, in the natural, in the world, in the flesh today. And we know that that's not possible, so a lot of times we'll stop living our life. We will just stop, and we will not go out and enjoy the fruits of our labor. We will not go out and just enjoy a good friendship with friends, and it may be a situation where the friends don't feel comfortable. You don't feel comfortable because nobody really knows what to say. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story as far as my first vacation that I took, and I remember vividly. I mean, the emotions, the feelings, the people that were there, things that they said, and and there's, if you haven't taken a vacation or you haven't gotten away, and you haven't done anything with just going out and trying to, taking a movie, go out and enjoy yourself, laugh and have fun. Then it's maybe you might understand what I'm talking about, but at the same time, you might also, well, you might just have fears that are surrounding that because you're not really sure how to handle those emotions. So hopefully what we can talk about today will shed some light on that, and also understand how important it is to anyone's recovery, especially when you want to progress forward. And last week I talked a little bit about looking in the rearview mirror, and we're looking in the past, and sometimes planning something in the future, a vacation or just a getaway or just, a night out or whatever it is. That's planning for something in the future, and sometimes the emotion and the feelings that's around that can be very difficult for us. So, there we go. So that's a picture of my daughter, Kelsey, that was taken the winter, or actually in the spring before she passed away in 1993. So let me tell you a little bit about my story of my first vacation without my daughter. And it actually happened about, my daughter passed away June 15th of that year, and we were scheduled to go away actually on a houseboat trip that summer. We canceled the trip, obviously, and we stayed home. But the next summer, our same friends, there was about, 5, 6 couples. We would rent a large houseboat, and we would go out down in the southern part of Kentucky and to Lake Cumberland, and we would go out and spend a week out on a houseboat. We had boats and jet skis and all those things. So the next year we did go out on this vacation, and I would say relatively reluctantly, really. Very emotional. It's on one hand, you're really looking forward to it because you feel like getting away is something that will be good, but at the same time feeling very guilty because we're going, I felt like I'm going to go have fun. Number one, I don't deserve to have fun, is the way I felt. I was living with guilt. I failed my daughter as a father, and there was a lot of things that were surrounding that. But I was getting pressure. Of course, my friends and everything, they really felt that this would be good medicine. And so we did go on the trip. And I remember the drive down. It's about a 6-hour drive, and the drive was, it just, I don't know. It was, it was kind of a numb feeling as far as the drive. And I remember getting to the lake and getting on the houseboat. At the time, taking the houseboat out on the lake, that was, that point wasn't so bad because, it was, that feeling. But once we found our cove where we're going to put the houseboat in for the week, and that I knew that that's where we were going to spend, every day and every night. And besides, going out on the boats and water skiing and jet skiing and, inner tubing and doing all the stuff you do out on the water, that was, it was like I kind of wanted, in that first night, I wanted to go home. I wanted to go home. My daughter was buried back at home, and that's where I wanted to be at. I didn't really feel her with me, like I do now. But that feeling was a very difficult feeling to explain. I felt that she was back home. That's where she was at because that's where she was buried at. So that was a very difficult time for me to be able to release and let go of that. So that first night was very let's just say it was horrible. I didn't really enjoy it. My wife, she was there. There was not a lot of communication between the two of us, not in that sense. We talked a little bit about our feelings, but, we both were grieving so differently. It was very difficult for her to talk to me and for me to talk to her about what we were feeling. So we wound up and going on the deck with the friends and cracking open bottles of beer and basically became quasi comatose, I guess you could say. And that's how we spent each night. And then, during the daytime, we would go out and we'd have fun, and that was a bit of release. That was enjoyable to an extent, but at the same time, once I got back to that boat, I didn't really feel that was where I was supposed to be. And I really, and each night, at the end of the night, I just felt like this is not where I belonged. I just didn't, there was something about it. And I don't, I look back at it now, and before I go there, those, I think we were there 5 days, 6 days. And by the end of that, it was such a relief to come off the lake and be heading home. And that was the best time of the whole trip. Was I knew we were going home, and home is where my daughter was at, and that's where I wanted to be. Not only that, but my daughter, she had an older sister, and of course she didn't come with on the trip. So my mind also was on her and her safety and well-being, because our daughter was with a babysitter when she died. So I was, really struggling with anybody whatsoever ever watching my children, and because I felt like none of them could do as good a job as I could do, and I didn't trust anybody, which is kind of ironic because I really felt like I failed my daughter as a father. So, but on the other hand, I didn't trust anybody else. So, but that trip on the way home was a very tough trip. But let me say this, though. That first vacation, it had to be done because I got it out of the way. We took several trips after that. So we took a few more trips down to Lake Cumberland. We did other trips, and each vacation, we actually, would go out and, we had a camper. We'd take many weekends where we'd leave on a Friday and just go a little ways away. And we did a lot of these little small vacations, and then we went away for a week at a time, and we started doing that rather regularly during the summers. And then we got to the point where we actually spent the anniversary of her accident on June 15th, where we made a point to go away, get away from our world as we knew it, to get away from where we were at, and to go out and go someplace enjoyable. But not only for that, but also for our other daughter. And then we did have 2 other children that came along after Kelsey died. And so it was just as important for them to, not get all sucked up into our feelings and emotions, because they weren't around at the time she passed away. But they are very aware of her and very aware of the situation and our grief. But it was just important for us to get away each and every time. And in talking with a lot of people, I find that so many people don't take that vacation. They don't get away. In some cases, it's family and friends. They don't feel comfortable being with them, or the friend, or vice versa. The friends, family and friends don't feel comfortable being with, that side of the family because they don't really know what to talk about. And people get emotional. I mean, I was very emotional on that first vacation and the first trip, and it's something that, if the people don't know you that well, sometimes it's just as difficult for them, because they will shy away and walk away from you, and then there you are sitting alone. And but it is something that if you haven't experienced, then in the back of your mind, it's something that you're probably going to have to experience at some point in time. But let's continue here. Where'd my button go? There we go. I just want to say that it's all normal, okay? The feelings you have, it's because of the love you have for your loved one, that those feelings and the guilt and the emotions that are surrounded, the need you may feel to get away or just begin to enjoy yourself, to go out to a nice dinner, to be able to smile and actually come home and say you had fun. And it's normal to have those feelings, not to want to do that. So my first thing would be to tell people not to beat yourself up over it. For me, it was a year after her death, but I've talked to people that, 10, 12, 15 years later, they still haven't done anything that resembled any type of vacation or any type of trip that would have been like the one that they had prior to the death of their loved one. So It is normal. There is no set time. Just like there's no set time for somebody to grieve, there's no set time for you to take these steps, okay? But it is a normal process, and it's something that with what I do in coaching with some people, that it does come up in conversation. And over the last few days, this has been something. I've talked with a few people on the phone, and this was something that they have expressed to me that is where they feel stuck at. So this is a big part of and their feeling, their loneliness, that they're stuck basically in the four walls of their home, and it's very difficult to venture out, to even go out to a restaurant or go out and do something that would be, where they would say, hey, I had a good time tonight. And there's also another element to that, because this is how we may be feeling. Just like I was married at that time, and my wife and we went on that first vacation. We had a difficult time, the two of us. I can't really explain what she went through and feelings, because we never really talked about it. But I understood that, and I knew that she was having some pain and issues about being away. But at the same time, she was probably the more she wanted to get away more than what I did, and I wanted to stay home, and she wanted to get out and get away, because getting away for her, that was her outlet to keep from having the pain. To me, the pain, wherever I went, my pain went with me, and but I was very vocal about it too. So I would talk to my friends, I would talk to people, I would get it out, and then I would be able to move on. But then once behind closed doors, you close the door, and a lot of times people don't see how you may be reacting or feeling. But the possibilities seem to be so far off in the distance. So when we think about our grief, our life, and the life that's in front of us, it's just like the picture, those, I don't know what you call those things, but it's in the water. It goes out like a jetty or something. It just goes on forever. It just seems like it's just an impossibility for me to get to the end, because the end is the point where I want to be, but where I'm standing right now is it's so difficult to take the next step and the next step. And if you can imagine standing on those beams there and taking a step, and how you'd have to balance yourself walking out there, and each step knowing that if you take a wrong step, you fall in the water. Well, that's a lot of what it's like to take that step to go out and begin to enjoy life again. Just to be able to go out and enjoy things that maybe you used to enjoy. I tell people that, once your loved ones died, that has changed everything. And everything about, you can't go back and be the person that you was before, because that, even though no matter how much you want that to be, it's so difficult to do that. But you can make subtle changes to where, because the situation's changed you, and so you can begin to make changes in your life. So the possibilities, even though they seem so far off in the distance, you can make subtle changes to where you can begin to go out and enjoy life again. It just might be things just might be a little bit different on how you go about doing that, so you can build a new routine, build something different. This is something I talk with families and talk with people around the holidays that change. We have traditions that we do. Okay, so sometimes changing the traditions around a specific holiday, or around your vacations, or around something, just change them up, very subtle, very different. And so you begin to make new traditions, because again, it's all about looking forward, making the plans, and keep focusing on going forward, not looking backwards. So that's why this picture is sitting here looking into the future. It's looking out there where I have to go. And of course, it looks very difficult to be able to maneuver that and keep moving towards that ultimate goal where you want to be. But even though it is way off in the distance, and sometimes you can't even see the end, because it seems like it's too far out there. And so a lot of times our own fear will take over, and we just decide not to do it. And we will just stay in the house. We'll just stay and not go to work. We'll stay and not face these people, and that's okay. don't let anybody tell you that you have to do something, because you don't have to do it. It's just that it's okay if you want to, if you need to stay in closed doors right now. If that's your comfort zone, then you have to abide by your feelings, your emotions, how you're feeling about something. If you're not ready to do that or take that step out there and begin making that walk out into the distance there, then the timing right now is not right. Even though in your mind you're thinking about it, but maybe right now is not the right time. Don't push yourself to do something, because I know, like in business and things like that, they say, hey, every time you fail, you learn from your failures and things like that. And as long as you keep what is it they say, falling forward, okay, or failing forward. Well, in this case, I don't really look at it that way. This is not business. This is not that, yeah, we may fail, we may stumble, but sometimes when, the lessons that we learn in that process can be very painful, but we still learn. So that's very important. But here's the thing, the way to look at this. We can honor those that we love by honoring others, okay? I've always said that the easiest way to help cure your grief is to take the focus off you and put it on somebody else, okay? And you might say, what's this have to do with maybe going out and enjoying and having a good time? What I want to suggest for you to do is, sometimes, like I was talking earlier about, it's time to make a change. Sometimes you have new friends, you make new friendships, you find people that have a commonality, you have an interest together, that you share a common bond. And sometimes, we can be somebody else's crutch, we can be somebody else's anchor, we can be their strength when they need somebody, and out of that can come a great friendship. And out of that can become something that you begin to look forward to. It's and you can honor, those that we love by honoring others. Is what I mean by that. Is so where I'm taking the focus off of myself and my concerns, and I will spend time with somebody else and talking with them. And therein lies the beauty, because it's very therapeutic. What I do is very therapeutic to me. I learn all the time, and I learn from so many people, and that to me is very therapeutic. Now, I don't have to do anything that I do, and I could probably go and live a very extremely normal life, and because I have dealt with a lot of these issues and I've done these things, but I get such a great sense of worth out of honoring other people and helping those. And so don't be afraid to reach out if you are part of a group, organization, your church, or someplace, and share a little bit of your story, but at the same time learn about other people and begin to honor them. And then in turn they will honor you, and you might be very surprised of what type of friendship you'll begin to build. And you have opportunities to go to dinner, movies together. You can do all kinds of things, and you can really begin to enjoy life, and you will feel good about what it is that you're doing, because you're actually helping somebody, and in turn you're helping yourself. Here's something people have told me. They said, but what will others think if I would just to have fun, or even if they saw me smile? How many of us have turned around and thought that? I know I have for years, and even to this day. I mean, if I go to my daughter's, go to the cemetery and visit my daughter, and if it was something where if I wanted to jump around and look like I was having fun, I stand there and just think, what do these people think? That I'm out here. This is a place where I'm supposed to be sad, but that's not really true. You don't have to be sad all the time. But we concern ourselves sometimes what other people may think of us, and so a lot of times, in our grief, we don't want to show our emotions in grief, so we will not go out, so we stay in. But at the same time, if we go out, and we enjoy ourselves, those people that are close to us, what will they think? And here's this is the ironic thing about what I'm saying. 6 months, a year later, after your loved one passes away, I think each and every one of us would say that everybody else's life has returned to normal except for mine. My life, I come home every day. There's something missing, whatever it is. But their life, they go home to their family and go to their jobs and go through everything, and then we're concerned about how they think about us. We're concerned how they may view, but I've had people say that they've gone to work, and 2 weeks after, this one gentleman shared with me, he says, I went to work 2 weeks after my wife passed away, and he says, and a coworker saw me sitting kind of teary-eyed and crying, and he looked at me and he told me, he says, it's been 2 weeks. He says, get over it. And that, I think if it was me, I probably would have reached out and touched them, but not in such a nice way. But we concern ourselves with people like that. And what I'm trying to say here is, don't. It doesn't matter. They don't have to live in your shoes. They don't have to live in your life. They don't have to make the decisions you make, and you would not wish the situation that you're in on them by no means. Okay? And the one thing is each and every one of us that are grieving or have grieved in our lifetime, those people that don't understand us or not grieving, guess what? They will too grieve someday. They will grieve a loss. It's inevitable. It will happen. Okay? They may lose a child. They may lose a spouse. Their parents are going to pass away, grandparents, somebody close to them, their best friend. They will be in your shoes, guaranteed. Okay? And that's where I feel like is a time for us to begin to help them, even though they may have at some point in time turned their back on us or gave us a feeling of that why I can't be happy. 6 months, 6 years, 60 years, or whatever the time frame is. At some point in time, I can't be happy and go out and enjoy my life again, and enjoy things and enjoy this beautiful world we live in, and go out and just see the flowers and go do the things, plant a garden, do whatever it is that that is good therapy for me. But at the same time, it's something that I enjoy, and so don't let those people worry you. Okay, I did for years. I concerned myself, and I still do. I worry about this stuff that I'm doing now. My friends and my family, and I have an aunt that here just a few months ago told me to get over it. She says this is the most unhealthy thing that you're doing, and when she said that, it really bothered me, and I began to question maybe she's right. Maybe this is not a very healthy thing, but because what I'm doing is what it boils down to. What I am doing is making her uncomfortable. Has nothing to do with how I feel. It's all about how she feels. So think of it that way. When somebody when you begin to think something or somebody says something, it's your actions, your behavior, whether or not you're happy or you're sad. What that's really doing is that's affecting them in a way that they feel uncomfortable about your behavior, your actions. And I'm sorry for them. And if they don't understand and they're not walking in your shoes, the only thing you can, and I've said this to people, say, you know what, I'm sorry you don't understand how I feel. I can appreciate that. I wish I didn't understand how I feel. But the one thing I can say to you is, you're going to be in my shoes someday, in some way or another. You're going to be here, and so I hope that when that time comes, that you can accept the fact that that I will always be your friend, and I will be there for you when that time comes, and trust me, it will come. Hopefully we'll be, maybe we'll be really old and decrepit and sitting in the porch with our little white rocking chairs when we do that. But but nonetheless, they're going to bury somebody that's close to them that they love and they care very much about. It's only a matter of time. Okay, and so. When we go, I mentioned this when I was out on my first vacation. This picture, when I saw this picture, it kind of really fits because that's, in a way, that's not me. So if you want to know if that's me, it's not me, but it's almost like me. To be in our shoes is a very lonely place to be sometimes. And so you may go out on a vacation, you may get away, you may be trying to enjoy yourself for the sake of other people in your family. And you find yourself sitting there just looking out into space and not really enjoying anything that's around you because you don't feel like you belong. You don't feel like this is where you need to be. But let me say this, I look back at my experience and that was necessary. It had to be done. Okay? And so whether or not it happened that year, second, third, fourth, fifth year, whatever the case may be, it had to take place because that was a stepping stone in my recovery, in my learning to be able to cope with my grief and my situation at that point in time. Not until years later did I really begin to feel like I wanted more. In other words, if I was on that beach, instead of sitting on that chair, I wanted to be the one in the water playing and enjoying the things that I used to enjoy but going to the beach. That's what I wanted to be, because to me that's going over and above and beyond the coping part of things. Just sitting there and just kind of feeling sorry for yourself or feeling consumed by your own emotions and is not the best place to always be at that particular moment. So here's the thing. Others have been exactly where you are right now. Okay, they too had to have that talk or the walk, that is. They had to have, I'm sorry, let me say that again. They too had to have that walk. And when I say, taking that walk like in the sand, to learn to have that conversation, not only with themselves, but also get the approval of others, and not to mention the approval of their loved one, because I think sometimes our guilt, I know with myself, it wasn't so much that the guilt for the other people that were with me, it was guilt. I felt guilty because my daughter couldn't be with me, and she would not approve of that. In other words, it's like leaving her home. I mean, if you watch the movie at Christmas time, Home Alone, leaving your child home alone, and as a parent, or if you've ever lost a child, or in the store, and that feeling and emotion that you go through, that for that split second, that every imaginable thought goes through your mind. Well, in some cases, it's very similar to when you go away on vacation, but so and I'm going to touch on this, and we're going to talk some things here in the upcoming weeks of. And I was actually talking with an associate last night where we're going to get into some really parts that I really feel that are very important in my healing and moving forward, is learning to get in touch with your inner self, to be able to get in touch with those really deep-seated emotions and feelings to where you can make those connections. And those spiritual connections you need to make to be able to take those steps and have that walk, to be able to have that conversation, okay, and feel good about what it is that you're doing, so you don't feel guilty. And because, trust me, I can have a conversation with my daughter. It's not like having a conversation like we're having here, or on a phone, or over a cup of coffee with a friend. It's a split instant. I mean, it just happens in a matter of a second. But the information that I get from that is like having a 30-minute conversation, and of acceptance, of ideas, of thought that what I'm doing is the correct thing, and the validation of how I feel about a particular subject. Just the idea here to have this conversation or have this talk tonight when I wanted to do, my plan, or at least on my sheet of paper, what I had planned to talk about was something that I feel is important also, but all of a sudden I'm having conversations. This was popping up a lot in conversations with other people, and that people, the feeling of guilt surrounded about just getting away, going away, and enjoying, and to go out and enjoy a nice dinner, and to or enjoy a family outing, to go out, maybe a family reunion, or to enjoy, something of that nature. So we need the approval of other people, but at the same time, the approval of our loved ones too. But it's not like they're going to look at us and say, yeah, it's okay for you to go do that. But like I was saying before, when people feel uncomfortable and they make comments about things, sometimes that's exactly what it is. They feel uncomfortable with you going out and enjoying yourself. And so don't let other people stop you if that's what you really need to do. It's time to do some soul searching, okay? And, I kind of, we're going to start to wrap things up here a little bit, but what I want to bring up to you is, my wife and I here over the last, few weeks now, we've been talking about doing something, and that we want to share with everybody. I'm sorry, I had to get me a drink of water. And I want to share something. We're going to kind of break it here tonight. We don't have all the details, but I really believe that sometimes to spend time with like-minded people that that share a common interest. And now, in some senses, when I say common interest, I mean it's not like we like crocheting, knitting, or playing basketball. But it's not those type of interests. It's the common interest here is that we belong to a private club that nobody wants to be part of, and I don't really need to say much more than that. I think everybody knows exactly what I mean. But it's time to do some soul searching amongst ourselves and to begin to carve out new friendships and carve out a new community and carve out a new direction, not only for our lives but for the lives of many others. And my goal is to empower millions of people to rise up and begin to gain their power and take their power back in their life, to be able to live their life full, free, and with passion and with purpose, and to live life intentionally. And when I say intentionally, it means each and every day that you have to intentionally work on this. It is hard work. It is hard work if it was, and this is one private club that if it was easy work, everybody would do it. But in this case, nobody wants to be part of our club. So, but there's people that are becoming members of our club every single day. Hundreds and thousands and tens of thousands and millions of people a day are becoming part of our club each and every day. But it's time for us to, not only amongst ourselves as couples, husbands, wives, or boyfriend, girlfriends, and family members and alike, to begin to do some deep soul searching as far as what we want for the future. Because like last week's call, I talked a little bit about where have you been, where are you now, where do you want to be. So what my wife and I want to propose is we are looking to begin to write a new chapter in our story, but at the same time I'm going to suggest people to begin to write a new chapter in your story. Okay. Last week we talked a little bit about story and writing your story. We are all interacting with each another, with each of us. We're interacting. You're actually if you're listening on this call right now, or if you're listening to a recording of this call, you're actually participating in my story. Okay. And my story includes you, but I'm writing the story and I'm looking off into the future, and the future is later this year, and I'm looking at around the end of September, the 1st of October of 2017, and it's time to begin to write a new chapter, and that chapter includes many people, and many new people that I don't even know at this particular moment in time. I don't know them, but somehow if you're here tonight listening, or if you're listening to this recording, there's a reason why you're here. It's not just by luck. It's not just by coincidence. There's a reason for everything that happens. And it's amazing. You know, we all have messages that are given to us each and every day. We have a choice to pay attention to them or not pay attention to them. We have a choice whether or not to react to them or not to react to them. We have a choice to make a decision. Do I do this or do I not do this? And so, you know, so as we begin to move forward, and if you are currently working on your story and how you want to see your story play out in the future, this is the way to look at this, okay? And so what I'm saying is it's time to spend spend with new friends. Share your story as you begin a new future, you know, begin to carve out a new future for yourself. And you see some little, I don't know what you call those, grass umbrellas or something. But anyways, that's a nice little beach picture. I'm sure we would all love to be sitting on a beach like that. Well, that's what I'm proposing. At the end of September, my wife and I are looking to putting together a couples retreat of like-minded people where we are looking at, actually we have a location. We love this part of, it's in Florida, and it would be Destin, Florida, and the last weekend in September. And I think it takes up the last weekend in September, and October 1st is like that Sunday, so it's a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I know for myself, we don't get away very often, but if I can get away and enjoy some time with new friends and do things, not only that, but also we can really pack it full of a lot of education and some good training and good tips and make a lot of new friends in the process, and where we can pick up the phone and call anybody that would be there and just have a conversation on how we feel. And we can carve out new relationships and be able to springboard ourselves into a completely new future, all along the way honoring our loved ones and also honoring others, like I said before. And so, you know, it's not, let's see, I can't quite see what I'm writing here. So there's really no need to feel guilty as you begin to spend time with others and also share your pain of loss and as you hear other people's stories and with their loss. And the one thing, you know, that has always helped me, and just because something works for me and helps me does not mean it's going to help you or make any difference in your life, okay? I don't sit here and preach to people by saying, if you do what I do, you will get what I get, okay? That's not what I'm saying, okay? I don't want anybody to get that picture that, you know, if you were to attend this couples retreat, that you would get the same transformation that I would get or my wife would get or other couples and other people that might be there. We are going to limit this to somewhere between 12 and 15 couples, or, you know, and we will get information on a hotel, and along with, you know, we will be providing the way we would see the itinerary for this would be something to be like you would arrive on a Friday, and maybe we'd have a little social hour Friday evening, and then and get to know each other, you know, every person there a little bit, and talk and just kind of socialize. And then Saturday morning we'd get up and have breakfast. We would probably go through some training as far as, you know, working on a few things and have some things that we can work on and making plans for. I have a few people that would be coming in via the internet that could also teach us some really valuable skills and things that we can utilize in our life going forward. And then we would break for the afternoon, and you could go out and enjoy the beach, go out and enjoy the area, and we'd come back for dinner, enjoy a nice evening together, and again, go through some more material and information, and we would see if we could bring in a guest speaker or two, and then on Sunday morning have breakfast Sunday morning and kind of go through that, and maybe even have a worship service if those that would be interested, and then we could also have some fellowship and have some good time together, and then kind of release them, and everybody can begin to head home somewhere around 11, 12 o'clock on that Sunday morning. That is what we're looking at. So So if you're on this call tonight, you're the first one to know about this. We will get the particulars and the costs and everything up to everybody here. So like I said, it would be the end of September, and so that way we can set a date for sometime this summer so we can begin to wrap this up. So it's in the very early stages. We just have the date. We have the plan. If we have enough interest over the next few months, we will go ahead and proceed and begin to put the program together. So again, we'll be talking about this a lot and mentioning it probably on each call, but at the same time, this would be a great opportunity for us to begin to carve out some new friendships, new relationships, and be able to take, our journey and our walk. And so, because I know a lot of times we feel very lonely, trapped in the world that we're in, and how often can we go to someplace nice and enjoy a nice evening out and be able to, or even a weekend, and enjoy it with other people that share a common bond, that are part of our own personal private club, that we really don't want to be part of, but we are, and we can't change that fact. So if we can't change, we can't quit the club or give up on the club, because this is where we are and this is where we're going to be. So we need to embrace it, and we need to become part of that, and then begin to take our lives forward and begin looking out that big window instead of the little mirror behind us, and make those plans for the future, and honor others, and in turn we will begin to feel much better about what it is that we're doing. So hopefully that makes a lot of sense for everybody. And I know I kind of rambled on a little bit here tonight, and which may sound like, to me sometimes it sounds like nothing, but I believe it speaks to some people here, and maybe many others that will hear this on the recording. But at the same time, I will tell you that it's something that I had struggled with, the guiltiness feeling of just being able to get out of the house and go do something. And sometimes it's easier just to kind of go with the status quo and do what other people think you should be doing, to do what's safe, and stay within your space and just do that. But getting out of your comfort zone is part of growth, and then I'm going to kind of leave you with this quote that I mention all the time, because I live it, and I want you to kind of, if this quote, if you like this quote, then I suggest you put it up some places in your house and where you see it. If not, I challenge you to search for some quotes that really give you meaning to life, and something to begin to work for. But this quote again from Norman Cousin just says, "Death is not the greatest tragedy in life. The greatest tragedy in life is what dies in us while we live our lives." And so what is inside of each and every one of us, we don't want that to die. And for me, that's the memory of my daughter, and what I can do to serve others is a testament to her and what she means to me, but at the same time, what she can also mean to so many other people, because just as your loved one means so much to you, they also can mean so much to so many other people. And there's a reason why we're all talking to one another now. It's not by chance. It's not by coincidence. There's a purpose why we've all found each other. It's just do we make a decision to do something, or do we just sit back and kind of coast through life? And I don't think that anybody here really wants to do that, because so far it hasn't gotten us to anything that we want. So it's time to begin to look at something else. So with that being said, I enjoy everybody taking the time to be here tonight. And let me see here. Do I have another? Yes, here we go. This is the segment here where we can begin to share. And if you have any questions or answers, or if I have answers to your questions, but we can go ahead, and if you are on a phone, you can hit *2 and come out and unmute yourself if you want to talk. If you're online, you can also type in a question. There's a little chat box up there, a little circle thing with an arrow on it or whatever. You can type in something there and send me a question, or you can also unmute yourself by clicking on the microphone and unmute yourself and come out and just get verbal. And, if you have a question or anything. So we'll just kind of give it another minute here to see if anybody has anything that they would like to share. And I know we have several people on the call tonight, not as many as we did last week, but I know there was a few people that couldn't make it, but we do have some more people that I think are going to be coming on as I've been talking with others. So, it's a good opportunity to, let us know what you think, but at the same time, begin to let us know exactly, how you may feel about a particular topic. And don't hesitate to email me at rick@fatherslost.com. If you have a particular topic or if you have something that you would like me to discuss, I will pretty much discuss just about anything because over the 24 years, I think I've come across, I won't say everything, but I've come across a lot that deals with grief, that deals with and how I can relate some of those situations into my personal life, what I've been through and what I've learned through my life lessons and how I've applied some of these things and been able to move forward. So right now I don't see any questions or anything, so I'm going to assume that we don't have anything. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording here.